Action! You're back at the Friday Night Chips apparatus on 4 July, Independence Day. And damn the torpedoes full speed ahead, because we are joined by Navy Lacrosse player, the Great Henry Rentz. And like the great naval captain, John Paul Jones says, and without a respectable Navy, alas, America. So before we begin, Bisha, I'm going to pass you the ammunition. Is there anything you want to say before we get the ball rolling?
I just want to say happy 4th of July to everyone. I think this personally is my favorite holiday. You know, I take a lot of pride in being an American, and I know Henry does too. And I'm glad he's with us to talk about his experiences at the Naval Academy. So thanks for joining us, Henry.
Thanks for having me.
All right, John, what you got for the man?
So today it's going to be a 3-gun approach, 3 attack submarines, 3 verticals. We're going to get to the bottom of all of it. The first thing I wanted to touch on is, Henry, you went from a Severn Admiral to a Navy midshipman. So I know there's honor, courage, commitment there. Then you're on Friday Night Chips. That in itself is fearlessness, grit, and determination. But what I wanted to hear about was your experiences being at the Naval Academy, being an athlete, some highs and lows of it. What really has stuck out to you is what I want to hear. I was going to ask for the Henry Rentz pitch, but I realized you're a part of something greater than yourself, that being the Navy.
Yeah, so I mean, being at the Naval Academy, it's definitely a different experience than what other people get. COVID has thrown a wrench into all of it as well. I'm sure Bryson knows that too. So our experience being freshmen coming in and then having COVID hit, I think it was like 5 or 6 games into the season. We're getting the ball rolling, and then next thing you know, stop. We're supposed to play Hopkins that Friday night, and like a huge rivalry. Hopkins Navy goes back forever, and it just stopped. We're literally practicing. Coach brings us in, and season's over. So having to fight through that has definitely been interesting. COVID last year really. We were stuck on campus a lot, but I think it helped our program. We were, I don't want to say forced to be together, but like basically we were surrounded by each other 24/7, and it brought my class really close. It brought the younger kids really close, and it's starting to take effect into our program. Coach Aniplo has done a great job getting us going, and it's just been great so far. I mean, I think this is the year where we really string it all together. We're turning back a lot of pieces. And yeah, we set a standard for ourselves. We know what to expect, and we're ready to roll.
No, most definitely. And I know I read you made the transition. Was it from a defender to a midi recently, or did I get that wrong?
Yeah, I'm playing D midi now. So
okay,
I played O midi my freshman year. I played O midi my freshman year, and then now playing short stick D midi.
They play all the tough kids at D midi, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, we're really a grinder squad.
Yeah.
100%.
I just want to ask you real quick, Henry, because I know as a student athlete, like that's hard in itself, and being around other student athletes who aren't at the academies, we always wonder, how much harder, and because you guys do a shitload more than us. So we want to like just kind of your daily, give us what a day looks like for you, maybe if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So usually fall ball will have definitely more stuff in the morning. Usually lift at 5:36, but in season, our coach thankfully like values sleep a lot. So we're usually up doing academy stuff. I get up around 6:30, shower, shave, do all that stuff, and then in formation by 7 o'clock. Basically, it's like just you check in with your company. Every midshipman split up into 30 companies. Do that, then head into breakfast from like 7:15 to 7:45ish, and then it's kind of interesting. The Naval Academy is kind of like high school. You have first period, second period, third period. So first period starts at 7:55 every day. Classes are an hour, and usually average midshipman takes about 18 credits. So 18, whatever the equivalent is at another school, but usually somewhere around 4 to 5 classes a day. So usually 4 periods in the morning, then lunch at noon, eat lunch. Then we usually have film after lunch, and then have 2 more classes, maybe have a free period in there, and then I'll head out to practice at 3:45. We like to lift before practice, so we'll do like a short lift,
Right.
and then we'll practice, usually done by no later than 6. 6 is a long practice. And then get back, shower, quick turnaround for dinner. Usually we have something going on at like 7. So that could be like anything between a brief, some like retired admiral or generals coming to talk to us, could just be meetings, anything along those lines. And those usually last hour and change. So we're usually done by around 8:15, 8:30, back to your room. And then I'd say on average, we have about 3 hours of homework a night. So we're usually working till 11:30. I'm usually in bed by 11:30 every night. And then, yeah, wash, rinse, repeat, do the same thing the next day.
Yeah, man,
Wash, rinse,
that's awesome.
repeat.
That's a lot of
I've done
work.
lot.
A lot of work. That's awesome, though.
Yeah, it's been great.
Jordan, what you got next for him?
Henry, so this audience is a coalition of not just sports fans, but athletes too. And I know all the fans in the audience want to get to the bottom of the Army-Navy rivalry because, in my opinion, it has to be one of the most unique rivalries in sports. And that's because everyone's going to be on the same team and after they graduate protecting us. So I want to know how you guys hate each other on the field so much. With still having the immense amount of respect for each other. I want to hear about what it's like preparing for a game like that. I want to hear about the tradition, the history, and the action.
So, I mean, it's definitely been interesting the past 2 years. Last year, we smoked them 9-3. Spencer Reese, our goalie, played, I think he had 21 saves, which is just ridiculous.
Right.
And then this year we came back from a 2-goal deficit in the fourth quarter, tied it up, sent it to OT, and then Jack Sweeney, my main man, put one in. But yeah, I mean, geez, it really is something special because it is like at the end of the day, it is just a regular season game, and you got to prepare for it that way. But then deep down, you know that this is like means so much more. I mean, everyone that comes back and talks to us, they'll always mention Army Navy. They'll mention the games that they played against them. They can remember every minute, every ball bounce, everything. And I mean, I certainly remember that from my first 2 Army Navy games. And yeah, it really is like we are going for each other. Like there's no remorse on that field. But when it's over and we're singing the alma maters of each other's schools, you do get this immense respect for each other. I know being up at Mitchie Field this year, I definitely had that seeing all of them. I mean, we had like 10,000 people, which is sick for a lacrosse game. Yeah. And everyone's riding for each other. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all trying to get to the same goal, same mission. And that's like helping this country out any way we can. And seeing that come down to like blood, sweat, and tears in the field. I mean, kids, like it sucks seeing the other team when they lose, like they're just down and out. But like that feeling that you have being with your boys, knowing that you grinded your way through a win that like is hard. I mean, any rivalry game, I think it doesn't really come down to like X's and O's. It comes down to like these great plays, like a win, getting the ground ball off the wing, things along those lines. It's not really, oh, like who was the better coach, better players. I mean, Brendan Nickturn is tearing it up. And we just like figured out a way to grind it out. It doesn't really come down to X's and O's, who can pin their shots, who's got the shooters, who's got the lockdown defenders. It comes down to like who can just grind it out in the middle of the field, who can grind it out in the areas of the game that matter most. And I think in the Army Navy game especially, you see that. And also touch on like the other sports too. I mean, like going up to the Army Navy football games, unreal. The basketball games, like I'd say it's the same thing across the entire spectrum. I mean, we played really well against Army this year. I think we had like our best year ever. I forget how many losses we had, but I know like it's like 20-3 in all sports, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's the one thing that brings the entire school together. I mean, a lot of people have different backgrounds at Navy, but being able to compete in that game and being able to show your love for your institution and your school and your country is a thing that like I'll never forget ever.
Right. I had a real quick question. Well, first off, I think you hit the nail on the head, talking about what wins those games. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. But I just wanted to know, like, for, like you hit on football and basketball, like when they have games up at West Point, does the Naval Academy like ship you guys up there, or how does that work out?
Yeah, so football, usually they're at Philly, but they started to move it around a little bit. So for football, they'll send every single kid up there. And it's a long day. I mean, we're on the bus at like 2:30 in the morning, and then we just sit around and wait. But it's like my favorite day of the year. I still remember like being in the stands. I'm like behind the end zone last year at MetLife, and all my boys jumping into the stands. It's a sick feeling.
Right.
Basketball, you can like sign up to go. I mean, they play like home and home series
Right.
every year. So I definitely will get out to the home game. And even like the smaller sports like soccer, we'll go watch. I mean, because they're all right there. Our campus isn't that big. Everything's within a stone's throw of each other. So you
Right.
can go visit if they go play up at Army, but I'd say for the most part, kids just stick around and watch the things going on here.
That's sweet. That's sweet. Jordan, what you got next for him, bro?
I got one more question for the American Patriot that is Henry Rentz before Bryson asks him his final question. I've visited the Naval Academy a few times. I plan on going to one of your games in the spring. I want to know what the best place I can eat in Baltimore is.
Baltimore or Annapolis?
Annapolis, right in the vicinity of the
We'll
Naval
do Annapolis.
Academy.
Okay. Let's think. A lot of people love the Point that's up in Arnold. It's a great place. That's where like a lot of pregame meals will happen for us. Or if you're like really looking to pig out, I got to shout out Acme Bar and Grill. The
Okay.
Bar and Grill is the best wings in Annapolis, by far the best. Awesome place, gritty place.
Ready.
Great place to watch a game too. Yeah.
Now, I remember the last time I was at the Naval Academy, I remember there was a restaurant that was owned by a former Maryland lacrosse player. Have you heard of that? It's like a tiny deli. Have you heard of that one?
I'm not sure. No, I'm
Yeah.
not sure about that one.
No worries. Well, that's the American Patriot, Henry Rentz's favorite restaurant. Bryson, why don't you go ask him your final question?
Yeah, Henry, just, you being a Navy midshipman, I just wanted to know, get your take on what the 4th of July means to you and the other midshipmen, just if you can kind of speak on behalf of you and your brothers, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, 4th of July is like such a great holiday, celebrating the start of this country, the start of our fight for freedom. And certainly we've lost a few brothers along the way. I mean, the one that sticks out that I'm sure a lot of people know is Brendan Looney. Navy Lieutenant SEAL, went down in action. And he's probably the embodiment of Navy lacrosse and what it means to be a Navy lacrosse player, a Navy midshipman, and just an overall human being. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about him because he's just like, he's the dude, man. And his two brothers, both Navy SEALs as well. But local kid, DeMatha kid. And I think the 4th of July means more, obviously, but every day we talk about like trying to embody him and what it means to be just a gritty dude that wants to win by any means necessary, wants to put out for his team, wants to put out for his friends and family, wants to put out for his brothers. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And we still have that brotherhood. I mean, we're stretched all the way across the globe, which I think is what makes this place really special. And seeing that and seeing the camaraderie that happens on a daily basis, I mean, you're no more than 2 phone calls away from some guy that has the answers to everything. And it's really cool seeing that and knowing that the 4th of July is like the start of all of that. Definitely holds a lot more weight. But yeah, I mean, it's great seeing the country celebrate it, but it does come down to like a daily basis type thing for us. I mean, we try and live the ideals and morals that Brennan Looney had, what the rest of the brotherhood had on a daily basis. But yeah, I mean, 4th of July is a great time of year.
Yeah.
I mean, see everyone out and about. Nice day out today too. I mean, you can't beat it, and especially being on the yard. I know I'm heading back there tonight. I'll be there for a little fireworks show in Annapolis Harbor, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, and then we're back to work tomorrow. So
Yes,
as we roll.
Man, that's awesome. I really appreciate you sharing all this with us, Henry.
Me too.
Yeah, of course.
Jordan, you got any?
Thank you for having me, boys.
No problem. You got any closing?
Yeah, Henry, it was an honor and a pleasure having you on. I look forward to watching you play in the spring.
Definitely.
I appreciate it, boys.
All right, Henry, you have a good one, brother.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
man. You guys too.